and maybe before next visit, just to make sure everything goes off okay and that I'm doing everything right on my end.
No, that sounds perfect, because that'll be a big help. So we are going to go live right here in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, for all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time. I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your listening and viewing environment. We are here with you, broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, where you can discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families. You can discuss dating and relationships. And of course, every first Thursday of the month, we discuss health, wellness through diet and nutrition, along with our monthly contributor, Rebecca Buva, BeccaTheDietitian.com, who is always with us the first Thursday of every month, scheduling permitted. And I have to say that because, as you all know, Becca has her own career, her own business, but we are delighted to always have Becca with us. And Becca, if you would, greet all of our listeners and viewers. They've been waiting for you as always, so if you would just say hello to everyone.
Happy fall, everybody. I hope you're enjoying this nice, cool weather we're having.
Now, Becca, should I ask the question, are we really having fall, or did we just go right from summer into winter? I'm not real sure.
Oh my goodness, I know. It's crazy how cold it's been, but today is finally, nice and sunny in the 70s, so I'm going to enjoy it while it lasts.
Yes, it is absolutely beautiful. And for everyone, get out and enjoy the weather today, and tomorrow it's supposed to go as high as 75 from what I understand. So I'm excited and looking forward to it, and we're going to be talking a little bit about being outside, getting some fresh air, while we later discuss with Becca how her training is going for the marathon. So Becca, I know you have a topic for today, and I want to say this to all of our listeners and viewers. I mentioned this, Becca, just before I turn it over to you. We have been live streaming for 5 years now, as of the beginning of this month. And I want to thank all of the listeners and viewers for tuning in every day into 3D. We have seen so much increase in viewership, and everyone continues to tune in, and particularly on the first Thursday of the month when Becca's with us. You all love Becca. So I want to say, and I know Becca appreciates all of you also, but thank you all for tuning in. We're Facebook Live, we're YouTube Live at Daily Divine Direction, and of course, we want you to stay connected with us now, but I'll talk to you a little more about that with our 24-hour internet radio station, WKAPfaith.com. So Becca, would you share with the listeners and viewers the topic that you have for today for us all?
All right, so this month I wanted to talk a little bit about bone and joint health, just because Bone and Joint Action Week is coming up starting next Wednesday, October 12th. And it actually lasts a little bit longer than a week. It runs through Thursday, October 20th. So it's about 8 days, but it's really focused on disorders like arthritis, back pain, trauma from, that has affected our bones and joints, pediatric conditions, and then osteoporosis and osteopenia. So really the goal is to raise awareness worldwide about these conditions, how to manage the diseases, and then the treatment of those conditions as well. So I am going to be talking about what we can do from a nutrition perspective to help either heal, prevent, or recover from any one of these conditions or diseases.
Wow.
But before I get to that, I did want to just throw out a few facts about bone and joint health, just because you might not be aware, but actually 54%, so more than half of the American population over the age of 18 is affected by some musculoskeletal, which includes bone and joint conditions. So that's a lot of people. That's, over half of our population. So chances are, if you yourself haven't suffered from one of those conditions, you definitely would know someone who has. And then in addition to that, 1 in 3 people over the age of 18 required medical care for those conditions. And this number is just continuing to rise over the decades. It's risen about almost 20% in the last decade, which is a pretty considerable amount. So these are typically the most common cause of severe long-term pain and physical disability. So if we can help prevent these types of conditions, we're going to see a lot of benefits, not only for our personal health, but also for our society as a whole. So just a few more facts to shout out here. So the global prevalence of musculoskeletal conditions it's just predicted to continue to increase greatly, which, really is a result of increased life expectancy and then changes in risk factors, unless new treatments and preventative measures are found. So that, again, circles back to nutrition. If we can make our nutrition good enough to help prevent these things, we can curb that rise and help prevent a lot of pain and suffering in a lot of people. And why is that so important? The cost is a big, big reason. So the cost associated with musculoskeletal diseases just in the U.S. was $874 billion.
That's with a B.
That's a lot of money. That's like, it's probably only 5 or 6% of our GDP, but it's still a lot of money. I wish I had that much money. So, but with that, only 2% of research funding from the National Institutes of Health or the NIH budget goes to these conditions. So, 2% doesn't exactly match up to 6%. So, there's a bit of a gap there. So we just need to do everything that we can to help slow these rising costs and then also improve people's quality of lives, including our own. So what can we do from a nutrition perspective? We can eat foods and engage in activities that promote bone and joint health. So whenever I think of bones initially, putting aside my dietitian hat, I think of calcium. I think of milk. How many people grew up drinking milk at every meal and knowing the importance of calcium for strong bones. So that's an easy one. But there's actually a few other nutrients that can be really important for supporting bone health as well. And that would be vitamin D, protein, magnesium, phosphorus, and potassium. Now, most Americans, do a pretty good job of getting enough calcium in their diet, but still 42% or 4 out of 10 people are not. And that's why calcium and then also potassium and vitamin D are listed as nutrients of concerns for Americans because a large enough amount of people aren't hitting the mark on these nutrients. And this is why you'll actually see those 3 nutrients listed at the bottom of the nutrition facts label. So they really carefully chose which micronutrients to include on the label specifically because we need to be paying attention to them. So I encourage you, don't only look at the calories, the serving size, the carbs, the sugar. Take a look at those nutrients as well, calcium, potassium, and vitamin D. And then not considered a nutrient of concern, but many people do also fall short on magnesium, which is very prevalent in nuts, seeds, beans, and legumes. So if you're not eating a lot of those foods, you might be missing out on your magnesium, which, again, is important for bone health, but also really important for sleep, too. Now, I do want to kind of focus in on calcium just because your calcium levels that you're eating actually affect the calcium balance, vitamin D, magnesium, phosphorus. They actually control that balance of nutrients in your body. So if we can make sure we're eating enough calcium, the other things might end up falling into place or taking care of themselves because a lot of the sources do also overlap. So, with that being said, our bones need continuous maintenance. If your calcium intake's low, your body's then going to take the calcium from your bones to keep it in your blood so that they can stay at normal levels. But if we're removing calcium from our bones are going to get weaker. And then, you're going to be at higher risk for fractures, breaks, and then osteoporosis and osteopenia. So we really want to try to focus on meeting our calcium needs with food first. Food is always the best way to get the nutrients that we need. And then we want to make sure we try and spread out our calcium intake over the course of the full day. So a little bit at breakfast time, a little bit at lunch, a little bit with dinner, just to make sure that it's best absorbed. And your calcium sources, of course, milk is going to be a major source, yogurt, any dairy products, as well as your milk alternatives like soy milk, almond milk, and then also some leafy greens like spinach and kale, tofu, canned fish that do contain some bones in them, so canned salmon or canned tuna. Those are also going to be pretty good sources of calcium. And then it's also important to make sure that we're looking for fortified foods, so foods that are fortified with calcium and vitamin D. So you'll have to look for that being advertised on the front of the packaging, but then also definitely check the nutrition facts label in the back to identify good sources. So you'll know if something's a good source if it has 10% or more of the daily value. And then, if you're still struggling on your own to incorporate these types of foods, or you feel like you might not be getting enough, you're not really sure, you should speak with your doctor or meet with a dietitian to figure out exactly how you can hit the mark on these and get enough of all those important nutrients for your health.
So the great thing is you can go, Becca just gave us a lot of information that's going to be extremely helpful to us. But one of the things you will want to do is you will want to contact BeccaTheDietitian.com, because Becca accepts insurances. You can contact your insurance company, find out if you can use Becca's services, and she can actually do virtual, correct me if I'm wrong, Becca.
That is correct. I do all virtual nutrition counseling.
Okay,
so all through your phone or computer.
Okay, so this is real important. So Becca, we're going to pour through everything that you just shared with us step by step, because I'm sitting here and for purely selfish reasons, I'm saying to myself, at my age, I really need to work on bone health. And
definitely,
this is real important for us all, but in my case particularly because I do have arthritis, and because, and something I want to get Becca to share with us also today about training for her marathon, because everything we do is going to mean something for our health and wellness. So Becca, you said calcium, getting enough calcium is real important, and you did talk about some of the ways of doing that and spreading it out throughout the course of the day. What methods, and the reason I'm asking you this is because I happen to know, and people are actually going to be surprised to see in the coming month, Becca's actually going to be split screen with us virtually, so you'll be able to see her shining and smiling face, and she'll be able to really continue to share information with us. Again, as I said, her schedule permitted. But Becca, would you share what you are doing currently, even beyond the marathon, because you're a picture of health even before training? What do you do every day for in normal daily health to ensure you're getting enough calcium?
Yeah, so I'm always focused on this, whether I'm in training or not, just
Yes.
because I know that as a woman, I am at higher risk for developing osteoporosis later in life. So women especially, but men as well, need to be focused on calcium at all points in their life, and especially as we start to age and might be losing those calcium stores. So I make sure to get several servings of dairy every day. Lately I've been having overnight oats. I mix milk in, I mix some Icelandic style yogurt in there, so I've got 2 sources of calcium in that. I like to have a bowl of cereal with soy milk as a snack, so I'm getting lots of calcium from that fortified soy milk. I also eat green leafy vegetables on a mostly daily basis, not every day.
Right.
And then I love to eat canned tuna as well, so I'll have that every few days. So I really am making an effort to have at least 2 really good sources of calcium in my diet, one more plant-based source of calcium, and then I take a multivitamin every day too to make up a little bit of what could be the difference. Okay,
so I want to talk to Becca also about the oats at the end of the day. Before I'm going to do a little business for our sponsor, and then Becca, we're going to talk about this because you mentioned night oats. So I want to talk about this. This is really excellent for all of us to enhance our health and wellness. What Becca's giving us is something that we really need for our entire life, for the quality of life. But I want to just say this segment of the broadcast has been brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. If you are not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We'll move you into our queue so that you may become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill. At T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. So, Becca, it's interesting that you mentioned night oats. So you're eating oats at night and you're mixing milk in it, 2% or soy milk. What's your preference?
So I use soy milk just because I have a lactose intolerance, but if you're going to use regular milk, I recommend either 1% or non-fat.
Okay, so I've been using 2%, so I'm trying to follow the guidance of Becca. You know, Becca, actually I have contact. I can contact Becca at any time because she tolerates me. I've known her for a very long time. So I say this. I've been using 2%, so I'm going to probably shift over to soy milk instead of the non-fat, just because soy milk's a little sweeter. Can I do that, Becca?
Yeah,
okay.
Go for it. So I love soy milk. It's great.
I have to tell you, I ate oats one night maybe it's only been a couple of times I've done this in my lifetime. And I actually, believe it or not, felt a little different the following day. Now, normally I would eat it in the morning, but you just gave me something if I'm going to eat it. So you just gave me something else I can try, and I'm going to try that, and I'm going to share with everyone when Becca's here next month with us. But that's very interesting to do it at night.
Oh, so it's called overnight oats because you prepare it the night before, and then you let it sit in the fridge overnight, and it's ready for you to eat in the morning without any cooking.
Wow. Okay, did not know that. Okay, I misunderstood, but I shared something with you also. I ate oats at night with 2% milk, blueberries, and a banana.
Sounds great.
Cut up in, my wife calls that dessert. And you know my wife, Becca, she's the food police. So,
oh, yeah.
So the reality is, but I felt different the following morning. I wasn't as hungry as I normally would be in the morning. It seemed to do wonders for my body, for lack of a better term. So all of these things that Becca's sharing with us is going to really have an impact. But this bone health is important to me because I have arthritis in both my knees. I've had surgery on both my knees twice. And I've had surgery on my spine twice. So, Becca, you started us on diet that will help the arthritis and the bone health. Would you share with our listeners and viewers the best things that we can do for having arthritis in our joints?
For arthritis specifically?
Yes.
Okay, so in addition to...
I'm being a little selfish here, but go ahead.
Oh, it's okay. No worries at all. So in addition to kind of nurturing your bone health along the way, with arthritis, it's an inflammatory condition. So we really want to reduce inflammation in our body by avoiding those pro-inflammatory foods like saturated fat, sodium, sugars, added sugars, and the really processed foods, and choosing more whole foods, more natural foods, lots of fruits and vegetables, healthy fats, lean proteins, whole grains. That is so important for not only arthritis, but really any inflammatory condition.
Okay. So the bone health portion of that, is that going to have an impact on the bone health also?
Oh, absolutely. Because if you can strengthen those bones around the joints, it's going to make a more supportive environment for your joints.
Okay, so you mentioned calcium. What's the one food that you would encourage, and I know there's many, you have so much information, but the one food that you would encourage our listeners and viewers to start eating this month to improve their bone health?
Oh gosh, that's a tough one. Honestly, I would say whatever their favorite calcium-rich food is. So if that's milk, great. Make sure you're drinking milk. If it's yogurt, make sure you're eating yogurt every day. If it's kale or soy milk, or if it's tofu or your canned fish or broccoli, go for that. I never want to say you need to eat this food or you shouldn't eat that food, because it's so different for everybody. And we do have to acknowledge that we have preferences, we have cultural preferences, we have dislikes and likes. So we have to honor those things so that it can be something that we can incorporate into our everyday lives and then stick with that. So for me, it would probably be a yogurt, but it might be different for you or for somebody else.
Well, if you notice, I did ask for a suggestion from Becca, the dietitian. So she mentioned for her it's yogurt. So maybe we can try that this month to really get in a routine of doing something and then find what will work for you that's calcium rich and then follow that. But at least we have something to start the process. We have something that we can at least begin to make a change that's going to have an impact on all of us. And that's going to be real important. So that, I'm going to ask Becca to do this because this is real important. First of all, Becca, I'm going to ask you, if you will, share all of the insurances that you accept so that people can contact your insurance companies. And then I want to talk to you about your marathon process, because that is having a significant impact on your health and wellness. But if you will, would you share the insurances that you take with all of our listeners and viewers?
Insurances I accept include Aetna, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cigna, and United Healthcare.
Okay, so there's a lot of insurances that you can choose from. If you are being carried by one of those insurance companies, contact your insurance company. Find out if you can use Becca's services to make certain that you are maximizing your health and wellness through diet and nutrition. So I happen to know, and I did share this last month, that Becca was training for a marathon, and I happen to know that marathon is coming up next month because I've run that marathon. So Becca,
I know, it's scary how close.
Would you share with all of our listeners and viewers how the progress that you're making, what you've done differently, what you're doing every day to prepare for your coming marathon?
Yeah, so the biggest change for me probably is that I am seeing my own dietitian, a dietitian that specializes in sports nutrition.
Oh, wow.
So, every dietitian has a wealth of knowledge, but of course we all specialize in certain things.
Yes.
And I know that, that might be a gap for me. So I am trying to get all the best information. So I'm seeing a dietitian to make sure I'm doing everything that I can do. And a lot of that is, upping my carb intake, making sure I'm staying hydrated, adding in different supplements. I know I mentioned last month that I had started doing the beet juice, which is supposed to help with oxygenation and improving your performance during your runs. I'm doing a tart cherry juice, which is has very powerful antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds, and that's for recovery. I'm also taking my collagen supplement every day. I always take this, but it's something else that's really important for joint health as well.
Excellent.
I'm taking that, and I'm actually taking a salt supplement as well, because when you're exercising and you're sweating, you're losing a lot of salt, so I have to recover that after the fact. So those would be the main things I'm doing.
Wow.
I'm just trying to generally follow, a healthful diet. The activity takes care of itself with the training plan, but that's about it.
Well, what's really interesting about that? Now, see, this is another component, because I've run 5, and I haven't done any of what Becca just said other than staying hydrated and upping my carb intake. So this just shows us that if we really, in Becca's case, she mentioned she's seeing a dietitian who specializes in sports. So she's doing things that are going to make her perform at a higher level, which I'm not doing full marathons anymore now that at my age, but I'm doing half marathons. And so now I'm going to have to tap into Becca to try some of those additional things that she mentioned. But you heard Becca talk about the difference between women and men. But this is not just for women, this is for us men also. So all of us men who are listening and viewing today, let's make certain that we are making changes that are going to enhance our health and wellness, because women tend to work on their health and wellness a little more than men, from the perspective of, we're quick to go in the gym and lift weights, lift it, I pick it up and put it down. But we don't really spend a lot of time, we'll stay hydrated, but we don't spend a lot of time focusing on the nutritional aspect and the dietary aspects. At least I think that's the case, and I don't know, Becca, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think men, we fall short on that.
I think men have a tendency to wait until there's a problem.
Yes. Yes.
But women can be a bit more proactive.
Yes.
Not everyone's case.
Yes. And so, in Becca's case, her husband's running this marathon with her. He hasn't suffered any injuries, has he?
No, well, we're both kind of suffering from shin splints, but other than that, we're doing okay. But he's doing everything I tell him to.
Okay. That's usually usually the case. That's what we do, and especially since you're a dietitian and nutritionist, he's really got the advantage here. But we all need to do this every day. This is, this information that Becca is sharing with us is going to really improve our health and wellness. Now, bone density and, this whole bone health issue is something that, as soon as I heard it, I'm saying to myself, this is Becca speaking to me also, because, I know I have problems with my joints, even as a runner. The reason that I can't run every day now, I have to run every other day when I'm running or training, is because I have the soreness. So some of the things that Becca's sharing with us, I'm going to be able to try differently also. And Becca, I'm going to talk to you offline about the additional things that you mentioned. I'm not a beet juice fan, so I'm going to have to find out from you what else I can use.
It's a tough one to swallow.
No pun intended, right? She said a tough one to swallow, but
exactly.
Yes, but the reality is that we all have to work on being proactive. So, Becca, if I know you're always mindful of everyone's cultural differences and everyone's experience, but the reality is that if we're gonna do better, we have to try to do something better, and we can't keep doing the same things we've always done and expect to get different results. So, Becca, I'm going to ask. I already put you on the spot once about sharing with our listeners and viewers what one thing you recommended, and I'm going to encourage everyone, let's try to eat yogurt this month every day, because that's one of the things Becca mentioned. But Becca, if you can share with our listeners and viewers, you're in the process of running this marathon. I know you're running probably every day in your case.
I'm actually only running, I have had to cut back a bit.
Because of the shin splints, yes.
So I'm supplementing with some bike riding, but definitely lots of.
But you're working out every day.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, for those of us who are trying to increase our exercise, so Becca just mentioned you're riding a bike. Are you out? Well, it's been cold, but are you riding outside or are you riding inside?
I've been riding inside.
Okay, stationary.
Too cold for me.
Yes, on a stationary bike. Okay, so that's good. And for those of you who love outdoor and want to ride, that will help today and tomorrow, because it's supposed to be warm again tomorrow. Here's 75.
I mean, with the exception of the result of Hurricane Ian, I think hopefully the weather's going to be a lot more temperate and not so rainy anymore. So this is the perfect time of year to start to get out and get active. Go for a walk.
Yes.
Go for a bike ride. Take an exercise class. Do something different that you haven't been doing the last few weeks or few months.
And that's key, is doing something different than we've always done, or doing something different than we've been doing the last few months. It's real important. So, Becca, could you make another suggestion to our, and I know you already said go out and ride, go out and get some fresh air, but is there one exercise that you would recommend to all of our listeners and viewers that they can do, even if they're not a cyclist or not a runner, or, I know we can all go out and walk. I mean, if you're mobile, you can do that. But are there any indoor exercises that you can recommend to all of our listeners and viewers that will help bone health?
Yes, definitely. So weight-bearing exercises of any kind. So that could mean a lot of different things. It could mean lifting weights. It could mean doing yoga, Pilates, or bar, or it could even be body weight exercises where, maybe you do some walking lunges or standing squats just in your living room, some push-ups. There's, YouTube is an extremely valuable resource. There are so many videos out there, free videos of at-home, no equipment workouts. So, get on YouTube, Google no equipment needed beginner workout if you're a beginner or intermediate, wherever level you might be. I guarantee you find something that you like on YouTube because there are so many possibilities.
Excellent. So that's our recommendation for moving forward because we'll be coming out of fall and going into winter soon. So let's get started. Let's get busy. And as always, yes, and as always, we are delighted to have Becca with us. And of course,